Hello everyone, and welcome to another Creative Design Team YouTube collaboration where this month we are taking one sketch and showing two different ways of using it. Now, because I have an exciting announcement coming up very soon, so stay tuned, I thought it would be appropriate for me to work on my Days of December project from last year. Yes, I have a confession, I'm very far behind on this, but today I'm going to work on day 23, but I am going to make a promise to myself that I'm going to finish this off before the end of the month. Now, the sketch that I have chosen to use is actually from the CDT Days of December 2022 sketchbook, and I'm using this sketch here with the circles in the background. And I thought it would be fun to bring in some texture and some die cutting to this layout. So you can see that there are 6 circles going across here, and what I've decided to do that's a little bit different from the sketch, instead of having just one sheet of paper, I have cut some of the pattern paper. This is from the Four Seasons Winter collection from last year. I'm going to use this pattern paper as the background, so this is cut at 6 by 8, and then I'm putting some white daisy on top, which is 5.5 by 7.5. So I get a nice border going all the way across. Instead of using 2 photos, I'm only going to use 1. So this is day 23 of the book, and I actually finished wrapping all the presents the day before, and that's a separate photo. This is all the presents under the tree ready to give to my families. But I'm going to set that aside for the moment and show you what I've done for the circle elements. I've cut these at 2.5-inch circles with the circle thin cuts. I've run them through this embossing folder. Now, this is a brand new embossing folder. It's called Christmas Florals with the embossing folder, and I think you can see the pattern through this. Actually, I'll put it over top of, no, that's not working. I'll put it over the top of the black here. That will work a bit better. So you can see it's a poinsettia style with sprigs and leaves and berries, and it's absolutely gorgeous in its own right. And that's how I'm using it today. But it does come with 3 stencils as well. You can order these stencils, and they are layered stencils. And when you layer them up, I'll show you a little bit of artwork that I've done with this. You can blend ink through the stencils, 3 different stencils, so you can do the petals of the poinsettia, and then you've got the berries, you've got the base of the leaves, and then you've got the details on top of those and the little sprigs. And I did this just to have a little bit of an experiment with it, and then I used some stickles to do some extra accents. So I'm going to put that on a card soon, but not for this video. I just wanted to show you what this set can do. I've decided just to leave my circles plain white. So I'm just following the sketch, and I'm going to lay out my circles across the page like this. And there are 2 rows of them in the sketch. So I'm not changing that up much at all, but I am going to trim my circles to fit to the white piece here. I'm not going to overlap them to the pattern paper that's in the background here. And then my photo is going to go in the placement that is on the sketch, but I'm only using 1 photo instead of 2. And I think what I might do is actually bring in some Scarlet and do a thin matte all around that, because I think that will just make that pop a little bit more. And then I'm going to bring in place of the other photo, I'm going to bring in a journal box, and I'm going to mat that on the Scarlet as well. So I'm going to just trim this piece down and mat my photos so that I can continue playing around with the layout and doing more dry fitting. So I've got these matted onto the Scarlet, and they're going to go over top like this, and then my journaling, instead of being strip journaling like it is here, I'm going to do a little bit more journaling on this piece of cardstock here. That's going to be my journal box, and I'll bring something else in to replace these little elements. Now, because this is a Days of December book, I'm going to bring in some numbers. So I've still got the little jar where I've got pieces that I throw in here with all my pre-stamped numbers. So this is using the Moxie alphabet. So because I'm scooching this in a little bit, I think this is going to be the perfect place to put 23 to represent the date. And then my journaling will go here. And now I'm going to go ahead and adhere these elements to the page. Now, they're going to be situated so that they are centered on the page. So I've centered this on my Versamat, but I think what I'm going to do is just adhere this to my Versamat so that it doesn't move around while I'm using my T-ruler and adhering these circles, because I want to make sure that I get them nice and straight. I'm just going to bring in my T-ruler, and for this one I'm going to hang it off the edge. Now I know my 6-inch line is here. There's half an inch difference between the top of the Versamat and where the actual grid lines start. So I'm going to adhere the first circle down. So I'm just going to lift my T-ruler up just a little bit so I can situate this circle. And that looks pretty good to me. And then I'm going to do the next one as well. And I'm being mindful of where the pattern is on this. I know my photo is going over this section here, so I'm putting the more detailed area to appear at the edge of the photo. And because there are lines going all the way through here, I can line this up exactly with this ruler mark so that these two pieces are nicely lined up. And then I can go ahead and adhere the remaining pieces. Now, sometimes what I like to do is, just for quickness, put all the adhesive on the back of the pieces. So all I have to do is pick them up and put them straight onto the page, and I don't have to fuss around with putting adhesive on each time. So now I'm just going to put my T-ruler this way, but this circle up against the edge. I'm going to make sure I've got some of the detail patterns showing rather than just the open part of the poinsettia. And then I can pick up my next one and adhere that down as well. And then do exactly the same for this bottom row here. I'm going to put these down next to the other ones and underneath the top row. And it doesn't have to be totally perfect because there are elements that are going over top of this. So I'm quite happy with how that looks. I can just get my rub and remove and take away the adhesive that I put onto my Versamat. I need to give my Versamat a bit of a clean. It does get a workout. It's one of my favourite tools in my craft room. I think it's a must-have, and as you can see, I have 2 of them so that when I'm working on a double page layout, I can have them side by side. Now I'm just going to bring in my trimmer and trim off the edges of these circles. You could do this with scissors if you wanted to, but because it's quite a long piece, it's quicker just to do it with the trimmer, and I know I'm going to get a nice clean edge. And I really do love the white on white look to this. I can put those aside. If there are any edges that haven't got any adhesive, I can just lift that up and secure those down just to make sure they don't kick up too much. And then I can go ahead and adhere this to my base layer and center this on the page. And there's the texture coming through with the white on white. And I'm just going to quickly dry fit these elements again. And then I'm going to bring in some other elements just to add a little bit more decoration to this layout. So while I'm adhering these pieces down, I'm just going to take this opportunity to talk to you about the exciting news that we have. The creative design team are doing another 31 days of Christmas card events. This will be our 4th annual event, and it's in a private Facebook group, and you can sign up for this right now with an early bird code. So make sure that you put that early bird coupon code that you can see on the screen here. When you click through everything and you get to the checkout part, you will find a section there that you can add a coupon code. So use that code so you can get this price of $34.95. This is available through to September 20th only, and then it will go back to being full price. If you are a CDT Creatives member and you're a paid subscriber in our Facebook group, you can use a code that is specific for you that will give you even more of a discount. So make sure you check out the Facebook group so that you can grab that coupon code. Now, what's included in the 31 Days of Christmas cards? There are 31 pre-recorded full-length classes. There will be tons of holiday card ideas. It's not just one Christmas card each day. We can't help ourselves. We love to give further inspiration from the original design that we're sharing. There will be new techniques every single day, and there will be, as always, downloadable handouts for this. If you can't keep up with every day, that doesn't matter. You can come back next year and watch that. And speaking of coming back later to watch the videos, we actually have an offer happening right now as well that you can access last year's 31 Days of Christmas cards. So that's the 2022 31 Days of Christmas, and the price is 40% off. So it's a good way to kickstart everything. If you weren't a member last year, you are now able to get in and have a look at what we presented last year. So that's a pretty good deal while you're waiting for the 2023 31 Days of Christmas cards to become available. We are so excited to be able to bring this event to you again this year. You can invest in your crafty time and we can inspire you to get all things Christmassy and all your cards and projects ready so that you can send them out so that they will arrive in plenty of time for December. We also have 3 very talented guest presenters joining us this year as well, and I know you won't want to miss out on what they will offer as well. So save the date, October 1st, 2023. We will be thrilled to have you join us then when the fun begins, and we can hardly wait for that date to roll around. I've got the basic pieces attached to my layout, and on the sketch it had 2 little dovetail pieces coming down, and I think what I'm going to do is use these tags. Now the other element that I'm going to bring in is this gorgeous card front die cut. So this is the blooming frame card front. This will cut a perfect A2 size card with a stitched element around it, but I actually love all the little leaves and sprigs that are in this. So this thin cut is brand new, and what I've done is taken a sheet of the 4 Seasons paper. On the other side is this green stripe, and I have used some scraps of this and run this through my die cutting machine so that I get a whole heap of leaves here. So I'm going to use these to help decorate my piece. So these are going to come out and around all of these elements just to bring them all in together and add a little bit more decoration. What you want to bear in mind is to not put the adhesive too close to the edges of the elements that you're adhering so that you've got the room to tuck in some other elements. Now, because I was doing this with some scrap pieces, not all of them are complete all the way up to the end, but I can manipulate this and just cut some pieces off and create my own little embellishments. No one is going to know once I start tucking them all around everywhere. The other elements that the sketch had were some journaling strips going out here, but I'm going to do my journaling direct onto this journal mat here. So I'm thinking I'm going to bring in some of these sticker elements, or I might just bring in one. I was thinking about doing this one, but it's a bit too large, and I might save this for the photos where my family are together on Christmas Day. So I'm having a look at these and I'm thinking celebrate and holiday tradition will work really, really well. And I'm looking at this strip up here to see if I can find something that works with the red tones, but I think I'll put make time to play in there, and that will be 3 elements that will come out from this area, and I can tuck some of the sprigs under here as well. So I'm not going to adhere these too much. I'm just going to tuck them and gently put them there, and I'm liking how that is looking. I might bring this one up so that it's going to be a little bit over, and then I'm going to start tucking some of these other little ones underneath. And the good thing about doing it this way is the sticker will actually help adhere some of these sprigs, and I won't have to do as much gluing. I'm still deciding about these 2 little tags up here. They might be a little bit too strong, so I might bring in these little heart elements. So what I'm going to do now is just commit to this part and adhere those stickers. Then I can come in with my glue and just attach these. I don't need to put glue on each single piece, just enough for it to adhere down, and then I can tuck those in and around the photo and in and around the journal box. And I'm going to take those away and have a little play with these ones. I think this is going to work quite well. So I might just move this one up to the top part, because then I can stagger these so that they go across the layout like that. That looks quite cute. I might just leave it at the 2 pieces. I know I generally do things in 3s, but I'm going to be able to tuck a little leaf sprig underneath here just to finish off this area just a little bit. So I'm going to play with that, and then I'm going to be back with the finished piece, and then I'll be able to show you the second project that I'm going to work on using this exact same sketch. So stay tuned, I will be back in just a moment. I've adhered everything down. I've got my journal space ready to go. The stickers are down, and I've tucked all of those little leaf elements all around. And then I brought in some gold glitter gems as well, just to finish things off. And now I'm looking at this. I've got 2 of these evergreen colours here, and I think I want to bring in another one. So I'm looking at my sticker sheet. Now I've got 2 heart elements here. So I'm thinking I might bring in another one and just put that down here in this corner, and I'm going to pop that up on foam tape, and I think just putting that down here is going to bring the greens in and lead your eye across for the photo and for the journaling. So I'm just going to put this off to the side, and I think you'll remember with the sketch, I'll just bring it quickly in again, there were 6 of these circles going across the page. Now that's the element that I'm going to use to create a slimline card. So I'm just taking this circle element as a bit of inspiration. I've gone ahead and I have embossed and cut quite a few 1.5 inch circles, and I'm thinking I'm going to lay them across my slimline card. I'm just going to center this on my Versamat. I think they will actually bridge that 6 inch mark, and then I can build them out from here. So I'm just lying these down. I wasn't quite sure how many I needed, so it's always good to do a bit of dry fitting while you've still got everything out with your die cutting machine and your thin cuts and all those sorts of things, so that you can just keep going. And I'm wondering if I'm going to tweak this circle element that was on this just a little bit more and put these in between rather than stacked on top. So I'm going to look at how that looks, and if I want to go that direction or not, or if I want to keep them all equal in their rows rather than nestling them in and around. And as I'm putting this bottom row down, I'm sort of thinking I might keep these as equal as possible. So rather than doing it like that, I'm just going to quickly move these along. I've actually got 2 there, and see if I like the look of this better. And I quite like how that looks with the tone on tone with the white and the extra texture from the embossing. I think this will work quite well. I'm just going to go back and have another look at this. I don't know about you, but I do play around with things quite a bit to see if they're going to work. So I am going to go back to it all being all nicely set up and equal. And because there's quite a lot of texture in the background, I'm going to bring in a sentiment from For All Occasions. It has a simple Merry Christmas in a nice straight line. I'm going to use that. I'd already pre-done some, so that was quite handy. This has been gold embossed, and I've put that on Scarlet paper. And I'm going to keep this card fairly plain because the hero for me are all of these embossed pieces. But I'm doing exactly the same thing that I did with this layout, and I've gone ahead and I've cut some more of those sprigs and leaf elements from this card front, the blooming frame card front thin cut. So then I'm going to go around and tuck quite a few of those in and around this piece, and that's going to dress it up quite a bit. And I think these are going to work quite well with this embossing folder. I know they're not the same shapes and the berries and everything that are contained within the Christmas Florals embossing folder, but they work quite well. So I'm going to go ahead and commit to this and start adhering these down. Now I'm going to start with the center too. I always start in the middle, or I try to start in the middle each time, because that way I can build out and everything is going to be equal across the project piece. So let me move this up to the center, and these 2 are going to go in the middle each side of the 6 inch mark. So I'm going to just put some adhesive on these so that they are ready to go. Sometimes with embossed pieces you do need to apply a little bit more adhesive because they're textured on the back, so not all of the adhesive is going to be direct to page because some of it is indented. So I'm just going to get my 6 inches here. This is my halfway point. As I explained before, there's a 1/2 inch difference here. So I'm going at 6.5. So now I can line this one up and go straight across. So then I can put my ruler and flip this over so that it is on the edge of my Versamat. And I'm going to start adhering all of these pieces down and filling up the whole entire card front. And what I think I might do is trim this down just a little bit more. So I'm just going to trim off that section there and a little bit from here, and do that all the way around so that I get a 3 3/8 panel by an 8 3/8 panel. If you have a guillotine trimmer like this, it's quite easy to do that. So now you can see that all of my edges are nice and flush. I've got my card panel here. I've got my sentiment that I have matted onto Scarlet paper. I felt like it needed a pop of red. I'm going to center that onto my card panel, and then I'm going to bring in all the sprigs that I have cut using that same blooming frame card front. So I've got all the pieces out of here that I can from some scraps again. I had some little strips of this. This was a Christmas paper from not too long ago. I can't quite remember what that was called, but I'm going to tuck all these pieces around, and where I need to, I can trim some pieces out. So this floral element on the end here hasn't quite worked, so I'm just going to trim that down so that it's a leaf and have them coming out of the edges of this sentiment. And I loved cutting these out of pattern paper rather than plain cardstock. It just adds another textured element to these sprigs. And so I'm just going to keep tucking these around until I'm happy with what I've got. And then I'll use some liquid glue to adhere these to the card panel. And stay tuned, because I've got another little thing to show you that you can do with the embossing folder. Here's the finished card. I've tucked all the sprigs in. I've adhered them with liquid glue, and then I've added some enamel dots. I've just used the red dots here, but I have coloured them with my tri-blend marker and the deep red just to give them a little bit more depth to go with the scarlet. And then I decided to put a matte behind here just to lift it a little bit and tie in the sentiment part. Now, because I've got all of this gorgeous texture here on the card, I want to dress my envelope up a little bit as well. So I'm going to bring in the Christmas Florals embossing folder, and what I'm going to do is just emboss the flap of the envelope. Now, there are two different things that you could do with this. You could emboss just this part of the envelope here and have the front of it done. So what I'm going to do is just put my flap in. I've got the Close to My Heart brand on the top so that I know that it will be raised. And I'm going to put this down this section of the flap and put this in my sandwich. So I've got my cutting mat here, and then I've got my platform, and I'm going to run this through on the 2D embossing setting. So I've run that through, and that gives a gorgeous embossed effect to the flap of the envelope. And then I can do exactly the same thing again. I just need to turn this around though, so that I've got the same effect. I don't want it to be debossed on the other side. I want it to be embossed again. And it's not going to quite match up, but that doesn't really matter. I don't think anybody that receives this envelope is really going to notice that. They're just going to notice the gorgeous texture on the back of the envelope. So here's the finished piece here. You can see it doesn't quite match up, but it doesn't really affect the pattern at all on the back. So that's what I've done with one sketch two ways. As I said earlier in my video, this is part of the Creative Design Team YouTube collaboration, so links to the playlist will be below. Andrea and Erin have gone ahead of me, so you'll be able to go back and look at their videos if you haven't caught them already, and make sure you tune in over the next few days for the rest of the Creative Design Team's collab, where we are featuring one sketch two ways. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, happy crafting, and bye for now.